This is the Palmetto State Armory Dagger 9mm, and currently this is the world's cheapest Glock clone. And in this video, I want to find out if more cheaper actually equals more gooder. So a couple of things to note. Number one, I bought this gun at full price with my own money. Palmetto State Armory didn't send this to me. Now, with that being said, they did send me this one as a loaner. This one has been sent to multiple different YouTubers. What Palmetto State Armory decided to do, send them one of our guns, and let's see how long it can go before it fails. And sent me 1,000 rounds of various types of ammo. And I put 1,000 rounds through it, and I've got 300 rounds through this one. So the PSA Dagger is modeled after the Gen 3 Glock 19. It's fully built in the United States of America by Palmetto State, and it only comes in 9mm at the moment. And it only comes in the size of a Glock 19. Now, I am told that in the future, they will have an optics ready version, and they may even come out with this Glock 17 size pistol for the Dagger, but that's all conjecture, who knows? At the moment, if you get the black one, they are $299. If you get the Cerakoted versions, they are $49 more. The Cerakoted versions come with a Cerakoted slide, currently in OD green and flat dark earth only. The reason I got this one was when I went to check the stock status, it was the only one in stock, so I clicked buy it now. It comes in a cardboard box that looks like this. In the box, you don't get much. You get the gun, you get the magazine, you get a chamber flag indicator, you get a lock, and you get a sticker and an instruction manual. That's it. And that's okay. I really wasn't expecting 2 mags from a gun that cost basically $300. The magazine that it does come with is not an OEM Glock mag. It is the Magpul P-Mags. Now, if you've watched my channel before, I always recommend for self-defense, use OEM Glock. That's just me. That way, it's just one less thing that you can blame a malfunction on. I'm not saying not to use them as self-defense. I just personally don't. Use them for the range, save the wear and tear on your OEMs. But nonetheless, that's what it comes with. Let's talk about the feel. The feel of this is very surprising. I didn't know what to expect getting a $300 gun to see what it would feel like. But the grip of this gun is by far my favorite grip on a Glock platform that I've ever tested, which is strange because if you've watched any of my previous videos, I'm always telling you I prefer like square, blocky type grips. And the only exception up until now was the M&P 2.0s. I love their grips. But this grip has also made the exceptions list. They have completely recontoured it and redesigned it, and it feels absolutely stunning in the hand. They got these 2 side cutouts for the mag, so in case you need to yank it out. I don't really care about those, but I'm glad they put them on the sides and not on the front, like Glock did with the Gen 5s first came out. You have 1 finger groove, which helps push your finger up high into the bore axis so you can get a really high grip. It's also undercutted and beveled, and it's really smooth, and you won't get Glock knuckle when shooting this. The texture on the grip is really phenomenal as well. Something I've noticed with a lot of Glocks, unless they have a custom stipple job, is as I'm at the range and my hands start sweating, I constantly have to do this. That's why I stipple a lot of my guns, because it doesn't matter how good typically the OEM texture is, I usually have to just stipple it, except for like M&Ps, 2.0s and stuff like that. But I have to stipple it just so I can hang on to it because of sweating hands. It has their standard Glock Picatinny mount. You know, it kind of reminds me of Polymer 80 on the front of the trigger guard. It's not double undercutted, but it does have a scallop right here for the mag release. For me, I can reach it without repositioning my grip to drop the magazine. They do have quote unquote the thumb shelf that's right here on both sides, or accelerator cut, whatever you want to call it. However, they're not textured. I wish they were, but I'm not going to fault it because again, it's $300. However, they are usable at the range when you're pressing out and trying to mitigate recoil with it. And I found that it worked quite nicely. During live fire, because of the way this grip is designed and with the accelerator cuts, I was really able to mitigate recoil a little bit better than I am with OEM Glocks, which is a thumbs up for the PSA Dagger. Now the trigger on this is kind of weird, kind of fascinating. From the videos that I have seen, like I said, I've only watched like 2, people either love it or hate it. I watched Honest Outlaw's video. His trigger was pulling at like 6.5 pounds and he actually absolutely hated it. For me, mine has pulled at 4.5 to 5 pounds, usually 4.5 right out of the box. I do kind of have to hold this trigger shoe here just so that the gauge doesn't slip, but I'm not gonna help the trigger. That one was 4.75 pounds. That one was just a hair over 4.5 pounds. That one pulled right at 4 pounds. What's weird about this trigger is it's like they mix the M&P 2.0 with the Glock trigger, because you don't have the little blade on the front. You have this little guy and it's hinged, and that's your trigger safety. To me, it doesn't feel bad at all, and I like the way it feels. Here's the take up, break. There's the reset. Now this one only has 300 rounds through it. This one's got 6,160 rounds through it. You notice how it has less hesitation in it? It's because it's been broken in. Which brings me to the next point. Out of the box, this trigger is a little bit gritty. When you're pulling it and when you're resetting it, it's just a little gritty. However, I have noticed the more you put rounds through it, the more it smooths itself out. Or if you're like me, and I haven't done it yet, you can polish the trigger bar, you can polish the trigger connector, you can polish the safety plunger, and you can accelerate that. If you're like me, I'm gonna polish it after today's video. I just wanted to keep it as stock as possible for the video. Despite of how good or bad this trigger is, almost any Glock that's out there could benefit from a trigger upgrade, with the only exception being like the Gen 5s. I mean, they can benefit from trigger upgrades, obviously, but Gen 5 has the best trigger out of the box. Now the sights on this are nothing to write home about. They're your basic 3 dots. You got the white dots on the back, you got the white dot on the front, and they are made of metal, which is definitely better than OEM Glock. I didn't expect anything better than this, and this is a level up for these. They are serrated on the back as well, so nothing crazy, but definitely better than OEM. The controls on this, I am glad that they stuck with this low profile slide stop slide release. You know, a couple of months ago, if you saw the video, we reviewed the Lone Wolf LTD-19, which is their version of a Glock clone. And this one actually came with an extended slide stop slide release, and I changed it out because the flesh of my hands when I'm shooting them usually gets in the way. You can see right here. What happens is it either prematurely locks open during the middle of a magazine, or when it comes to the last round, it'll fail to lock open. So in extended slide stop slide releases on Glocks, they just don't do it for me, so I always remove them. So I'm glad they didn't include an extended one on here. So because the Dagger is designed after the Gen 3 Glock, theoretically you should be able to use aftermarket parts that are made for Gen 3 on here. And as we move forward over the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna be making a series of videos testing those different aftermarket parts, and that's why I bought this. I wanted to be able to keep it and test it and manipulate it and modify it. I want to see, you know, where the conflictions are. Theoretically, you should be able to take any slide, any Gen 3 slide, put it on here, and it should work. You should be able to take any barrel, and it should work. You should be able to take any internals, and they should work. You should be able to take any Glock trigger, and it should work. You should be able to take any mag release, and it will work. However, there are a couple of exceptions that I already know about. Number one, the firing pin that comes with the PSA Dagger, the portion of the firing pin that actually goes through the breech face is a couple of millimeters wider than the OEM. Therefore, if you buy another slide for this gun, you need to buy a new firing pin that's not the Palmetto State Armory firing pin in order for it to function. You don't need the whole firing pin assembly, you just need the firing pin. I will make sure to put links over at the build list. I usually tell everybody this in the beginning of the video, but I forgot. There's a link in the description, it's the first link there, or there's a link in the comment sections. If you follow that link, it takes you to a build list where you can find all the parts that you see in today's video, plus a lot of my favorite parts. And I have heard one report of someone saying their aftermarket trigger wouldn't work, but that was via the internet, so I can't verify that. I have tried 1 or 2 different Gen 3 slides. They seem to work great. However, I didn't do live fire. I'm saving that for a video. And I did try a couple of aftermarket triggers and they seem to work fine. But again, I didn't live fire, so that's coming soon. So make sure you're subscribed, turn on the notifications so you'll know when those videos come out. You know, that's all fun and dandy, all the specs about the guns. I guess the main question now is, how does it shoot? Like I mentioned earlier, I did 300 rounds through this guy, and I did 1,000 rounds with this guy. And this is how it went. 1,000 rounds, 9mm loaded up. We're gonna be putting it through the Palmetto State Armory Dagger. This one is being passed around between different YouTubers to do 1,000 rounds. And that way we can keep a rolling list of everything that goes wrong with this, if anything goes wrong. And then we can also link to the other videos in case you wanna watch them. So we're literally gonna shoot all of this ammo today, and we're going to notate any malfunctions if we have any. So I got this one first, and I instantly went to the range and put 300 rounds through it. I had 2 malfunctions, and I verified later that it wasn't because of the gun. I had 2 light primer strikes. At first I thought maybe it was something with the gun, but I was testing a couple of other guns that day, including the Shadow Systems MR920 War Poet that we'll be reviewing soon on the channel. It also suffered a light strike, and I had an OEM Gen 5 that's had nothing done to it except for a magwell and a light, and it had a light strike. It turned out I had some SMB ammo that had hard primers. As soon as I switched ammo, no more malfunction. So 300 rounds, not a hiccup. Now, with this one, we did 1,000 rounds, and my buddy, Mr. Big Kid, if you want to subscribe to his channel, I'll link it down below. He helped me with this. And a big shout out to Ted's Shooting Range in Queen Creek, Arizona, for allowing us to shut down the range to get the 1,000 round test done in about an hour and a half. I'll have a link to their website in the description as well. So during the 1,000 round test, we had 2 malfunctions, and they occurred in the very first magazine that we put through it. Looks like they had a failure to feed. I don't know what exactly happened. Let's see. Failure to feed. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but it just didn't go in. Just a little bitty mark right there. I don't know if we get it on the camera, but we'll try it again. See what happens.
Same exact thing.
I wonder if it's the mag.
Could be.
Let me see. It might be the magazine we're using, but that's all the magazines I have. So let me try it. And that was this guy, ETS mag. And at first I wanted to blame the magazine because sometimes ETS mags can be junk. Most of mine are great. For the Glock mags, I haven't had any issues. I did have issues with their P320 mags, but I haven't had issues with their HK, M&P, or Glock mags. However, I wanted to blame the magazine, and I let my buddy Steve from the Mr. Big Kid channel put the first rounds through it. And I think after reviewing the footage, he was limp wristing. And limp wristing, for those of you that might not be familiar, is when you don't got a good grip on it and you kind of let the gun come back a little too easily. Because right after he had those 2 malfunctions, I was like, hey, let me shoot the rest of the mag. And I shot through the rest of the mag, didn't have a single malfunction. Later in the day of testing it, I refilled this mag 2 times, never had another issue. And we were shooting high-end ammo, so it wasn't the ammo. We were shooting the Sig Sauer performance stuff. It was, so that stuff shouldn't malfunction. Now, during the 1,000 round test, it should be noted, we'd put a plethora of different types of ammo through it. We had some Sig Sauer performance. We had some bottom bucket aluminum. We had some steel cased Tulamo. We had some mid-range ammo as well. And I also tested it with a plethora of different magazines. Throughout the test, we would shoot it, get it really hot, dunk it in water, dry it off, shake it off, put another mag, and keep going. Not a single hiccup. In fact, this grip texture is so good that this gun was wet, and I still didn't have to milk my grip when I was, shooting it. I was able to shoot this gun faster than I can shoot most OEM Glocks. I was able to hang on to it better, and I was able to mitigate recoil better. We were shooting this at about 30 feet. So over the course of shooting it, as the barrel got hot and cooled back down, I didn't notice any differences in accuracy either. So that's something else to note. So now let's talk about the cons of the Palmetto State Armory Dagger. With a $300 gun, it's gonna be a little bit hard to call things cons, but I do have one big con in particular. So if you'll notice here, it's a 3-pin design. You got a trigger block pin, and you got a locking block pin. The locking block pin and the trigger block pin, you can see right through them. That's because it's using roll pins like you see on an AR-15. Typically on a Glock, you simply can just take a little tool and push out all the pins by hand. You typically need a hammer except for the first time that you get it on a brand new gun. However, with this one, on the other hand, I put it on my bench, I grabbed my hammer, grabbed my punch, and it wouldn't come out. And that's because this desk that I'm on is a standing desk that goes up and down. It has a little bit of give to it, not crazy, but a little bit. I had to take it out to the garage, put it on a concrete floor and bang it with a bigger hammer. And then these two pins finally came out, but they were really tough to come out. I don't know if they're gonna loosen up over time. I will report back in future videos. I'm also gonna try and see if regular Glock pins will work in it or not, but that's really annoying because one of the biggest advantages to Glock is you can take them completely apart in the field with just one punch. You don't need a bench block, you don't need a hammer for regular Glocks. Like I said, usually the new ones are kind of tight, but I can usually just take everything out of a Glock with just a punch. And this one, you really need to be set up and bang the crap out of it. So that is quite annoying. Now, there is another problem that other people have reported. I know that Work the Trigger has reported this, and I believe someone else. They noticed that when you're live firing this trigger pin will drift out towards the right side of the gun. It would just back itself out. Now, with the 13 rounds that I have through both of these, none of that's happened to me. Usually when I do a review, I only have a sample size of 1. And it's kind of exciting because I have a sample size of 2 this time. The biggest flaw with this gun is you can't find them in stock. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I had to buy this myself. No one gave me insider tips on when it was going to be in stock. And so, you know how I mentioned earlier that there'll be a link in the description where you can find all the parts to everything? Over there, I have a bullet point list on how to find these in stock. It tells you what days to check. It tells you what times of day to check and how to get it so that you can get through the checkout process before they get sold out. So, and I know that it works 100% because I shared last week on our deals page. If you're not subscribed, go check, hit the subscribe button, go check out our community tab. Over there, every week, I post up deals of the week or things that are back in stock. So make sure you're following that. But I posted up exactly how to find this in stock, and 5 people messaged me on Instagram, said, hey bro, thank you for that. I found it in stock. So it does work. So, but that's the biggest flaw of this gun. You know, it's not anything dangerous. It's just, I wish they could keep up with demand, but I understand with shortages on raw materials, they're doing their very best. And they're getting better at restocking these as they go. Now, would I buy this again, knowing what I know now? Absolutely, I would buy 5 more. I really would. The grip is just the best part of this gun. Everything works as well as it should, and it shoots beyond its price point, if that makes sense. The way it feels and the way it shoots are on par with Gen 5 Glock, I would say. I'm not gonna say they're as good as Gen 5 Glock. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. That could be totally subjective. But for me, they're on par. It doesn't really matter what I think. That's my experiences. 1,300 rounds, 2 malfunctions that I don't think were due to the gun. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the description below. Is this a yay or nay in your book or no? Until next time, I love you. You guys stay sexy.